Welcome to Gentle Anchor, a podcast hosted by mom and son, Michele and Noah. No topic too tender. We talk with honesty, curiosity, and zero taboo.
Welcome back, Drift Mates. We are so glad to be back with you after a little break there. It's probably been about a month since we recorded an episode, but I'm Michele.
Hey guys, I'm Noah.
We're so glad to be back with you guys, and it's probably looking like Noah coming in from now on is going to be a little bit sporadic because he's got some big things going on, and we're so proud of him to do those things. And we'll let you, if he wants to talk about those things, he can. But we're just happy to be back and be talking to you today. And it's going to be this episode's probably going to be a little bit more heavy, but it's just kind of like those side effects of going through the end of the semester and what that kind of feels like, And so anyway, how are you doing, Noah? We're going to slide into that drift check. How are you doing?
I'm tired. You woke me up early.
Meanie. You're the one that wanted to do this so early.
Got things going on.
I know.
Got things to do.
Yeah. So
no, I'm good.
Tired, yeah.
I'm good. Just been super busy. Like I said, got a lot going on. Got a lot of stuff looking forward to. So I gotta clean this morning, clean my apartment, and do some packing and stuff.
Yeah, I know. Noah's got some internships, a summer one and then a fall one that he's going to be moving for, and so he's got to get going on that. So we're super excited. Some really great things in your future.
Oh yeah. Stressful but good.
Yeah. So good.
And you?
You know what? I'm good too because Tuesday was my last teaching day. Today, my students have their Unit 4 exam, and then next week they have their final exam. So the semester's winding down, and I'm very excited. It's been a good one. It's been really good because I've really challenged myself, and teaching in person has been super fun. But it's good to be done with it. And so Tabby and I are gonna, I think, go to the movies on Friday night. Go see Devil Wears Prada 2.
You hate the movies.
I hate the movie theater, but there's certain things that you go to the movie theater for. So
that'd be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited.
When does Dad come home?
Tomorrow. Oh, when does Dad come home? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, next Wednesday. I thought you said when does that movie, and the movie is tomorrow. So yeah. I'm glad we're doing well. So let's move into this. Let's do the socials real quick.
You got it.
Me? Okay. So we are on Spotify. You can listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. That's where you can listen and watch. But we also have TikTok, Facebook, Instagram for all of the Gentle Anchor podcast stuff where we release clips and things like that of the episodes that we record. So yeah, go check them out. Like I said, Gentle Anchor podcast and the YouTube. You can check us out on YouTube too. So that's where we're at. Okay. Should we move into this?
Let's do it.
So let's talk about what it has been like for you this last, I don't know, couple of weeks, what you've had going on. What have you had going on?
Yeah, essentially the end of the semester is wrapping up. We kind of had to condense our classes a little bit and kind of speed things along. We were all a little bit behind. Not even go into too much detail on like the reasons for that, just because it's unnecessary. But
yeah.
We were behind a little bit, so we had to speed things up. So everything that kind of was spread out a little bit kind of got pushed together. So that just kind of increased all of our stresses a little bit in regards to just kind of time management and doing all the things, learning all the things, and just preparing for the end of the semester.
And increasing your stress, like you said a little bit, but for you, that's a lot bit.
Yeah, I said all of ours a little bit, but for me, it was
that's a lot for you.
Yeah.
So we've talked about your anxiety before.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to recognize that it's an ongoing battle, right?
Yeah.
Anxiety isn't something that just goes away because your life is, going well.
It's easier.
It's easier and it's easier to manage. But when those moments come in where there's high stress, the anxiety kicks in very quickly, right? And so talk about how that has happened with all of what's going on.
I was going to get there.
I know. Yeah. I just wanted to.
Yeah. So with that being said, I had to take a few other steps to kind of try to manage all the things. Usually I was working a decent amount. I went down to like not working for 2.5 weeks. And then I was still doing clinical. So I had to go to that every single day. Granted, it was a little bit slower just because high school, and especially during spring sports, if any of you guys understand how spring sports work, especially in Minnesota, gets canceled a lot. So as sad as I was that I didn't get to see as many games and whatnot, I was a little bit more lucky just on the fact that I didn't have as much like time commitment into that. I loved my clinical experience very much, and it was really great. But in regards to just the stress aspect of it, um, it was kind of nice to not have as much to do.
Yeah.
In regards to the anxiety and kind of what that felt like, um, yeah, kind of like she was alluding to, when you're dealing with anxiety, it's one of those things where you are kind of on high alert all the time. We were having this conversation a few weeks ago, kind of talking about like generalized anxiety versus like situational anxiety. And for people that struggle with generalized anxiety, that's its own thing, right? That's every waking moment is you're just on high alert about something. Situational anxiety is kind of more so what I do with. I would say that like I have anxiety daily, but it's very situational based. I can determine like how my stress and my anxiety is going to be like altered depending on the situations I have occurring. So if I'm starting new things, if I have a lot going on for me, my anxiety increases exponentially. Whereas if I just wake up in the morning and I'm like, today might be a rough day, like that's just me,
Different.
a different experience of that form of anxiety, right? So just kind of differentiate there. And so the things, like I said, that all got condensed together, just kind of pushed deadlines back to back to back. So kind of some of the things that I had to work through for all those where I had three practicals? I had three practicals, four practicals, two in person, two online. I had four exams, two cumulative, not four, three exams, two cumulative in-person exams, and then one final exam in person. And then I finished all that, which I'm very happy about. And now I have two projects that I'm finishing up. So yeah, all of those things within about a 2-week period,
2 weeks, yes.
which realistically doesn't sound terrible. Like when you hear it, I don't know. Like I feel like it doesn't sound terrible. It's like, oh, it's not that deep, right? But like in grad school, those kind of are a lot more stressful than um, one would imagine.
Yes. And I think that part of it being higher for you is that you are a perfectionist. So that perfectionist piece adds a great deal to the person that you are and how you deal with anxiety.
Right.
So for you, it doesn't look like 2 weeks. Is it all of that stuff in 2 weeks is a big, like to us, it doesn't look like that's a big deal. But to you, it does because every one of in the back of your mind or somewhere in your mind, every one of those things has to be perfect,
Yeah.
right? And so that means that that cumulative exam has to, be those cumulative exams you have to be doing amazing on, that final, those projects, those clinicals, like they're all heightened because of the expectations that you have for yourself, right? So anyway, you can go back to what you're talking about. We're going to move into that, like that perfectionist and how that kind of played out during those 2 weeks. But what else did you want to say about?
I guess I was just kind of the last thing about that was did all those things, finish all those things, but there were definitely moments throughout all of that I was just kind of like crap hitting the wall.
Yeah,
Kind of
you
felt
were.
like it was just kind of a small rock bottom, essentially. I'm not gonna lie, I talked about dropping out. Like I was so frustrated with myself. I was like, no, this isn't where I need to be.
No,
Uh, Genuinely, I was like, this is not worth it. This is not what I want to be doing right now. This is not. I'm like, I was frustrated. I was upset about things
everything.
that I just was like, I am done.
Yeah. Did you feel did you okay, so when it was all happening, did you feel it coming or did it like just come out of nowhere?
Just kind of came out of nowhere, I would say.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I just wasn't expecting it, and then just kind of, boop, there it is.
Right. And so did that happen like as things were progressively getting, I wouldn't say worse because they didn't get worse, like as far as like, how you did on your exams and things like that? Or was it something that just started and then you weren't able to recover? So things just progressively got like grades slipped and things like that.
Yeah, I would say that like that first initial panic mode kind of set in. And then again, going back to that perfectionism, like had just such high expectations in myself in regards to needing to do well and everything that um once it started, it was kind of hard to settle back in. I would find moments where I was like, okay, we're fine. But then other moments like,
Yeah.
oh, like I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of hard to recover a little bit, I'd say. But
Yeah, I would say it's true too, especially like from my standpoint. Once like you sometimes I feel like try to shield me from like the worst of it because you don't want to worry me and stuff. But like I can feel it, like obviously because I know you so well, so I can feel it. And so like from my standpoint, it's like, okay, I know what he has going on for these whatever weeks it is or whatever is going on. And so I know, and I mentally have to prepare myself for what's going to come from you. Right. And so like, which is fine. Like I'm not complaining about any of that or anything like that, but it's a whole mental preparation for me as well, because I know that I'm going to have to help you work through some of the things that you need to work through. And so when I felt it coming, I was like, okay, like this is going to be a brutal next couple of weeks.
we made
But
through it.
what?
That we made through.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I always know we're gonna make it through. I always know that. That's really important to like recognize. Like I always know we're gonna make it through. Doesn't
Yeah.
make it easy in the moment, but
No.
I always know we're gonna make it through. So let's talk about that perfectionism that you have. I don't know that we've actually. I mean, I guess we have talked about it before, and we're not really sure where it stems from or anything like that. But I
Tell you
mean, I
exactly
don't
where it
know.
stems from.
You do? Where have we talked about that?
Yes, we talked about this. You don't remember?
Okay. No.
All right. Let me paint a little picture here.
Go ahead. Your sister?
My sister.
Yeah, okay.
Now, I've talked to her about this and I don't hold this against her at all.
No.
However, when you have somebody as smart as Tabby, a year above you in school, it holds you to a high standard because you share the same last name.
Yeah.
And when she just was really good at school and I just wasn't, it kind of was like,
I do remember talking about this because you and I were in the same boat because we're the youngest kids, and my brother is way super smart. And you went the opposite way than I did. I was like, fuck it. Like, I don't care. And you went the opposite way. Go
I
ahead.
went the opposite way. Sometimes I wish I went that route, but I didn't. I don't know if it was first grade or third grade, but we went to class and they're like, "Oh, and they obviously knew you because Tabby and I had the same teachers for
Almost. Yeah.
almost every year, right?
Yeah.
And so they're
Small
like,
town.
they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're Tabby's younger brother. Like, you must be this amazing, exceptionally smart, intelligent young individual." And they never said that to me. I'm not gonna say that they ever
No.
said that, but it was that almost like you could feel that expectation just because
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, like, you're a beauty call for you. Like, your sister was just so great. Like, she's just
Yeah.
and she oh, Tabby was reading at its 12th grade level in, 5th grade." And I was like, "Oh, I can barely read a sentence." But okay. It kinda stemmed from just having that initial expectation of, "Oh, I have to prove to everybody around me, including my teachers, that I'm as smart as my sister." Um, that it kinda became my personal it kinda felt like it became my personal identity a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like, this is super important to me is that I wanna be also, the other thing about it is I wanted to be just like Tabby, right? Like,
Yeah.
she was somebody that I looked
She's
up to,
for sure.
right? And so, knowing that Tabby just did so well in everything, it made me feel like I had to kind of be at that same level. So,
Yeah.
that's kinda where it stemmed from, and now I just gotta deal with it.
Yeah. And now it's just become this thing that and it is part of your personality, I would say, but yeah. So what does that do to you academically
It
now?
sucks.
Yeah.
Now I hold myself to a standard that's probably unrealistic.
Unattainable.
Yeah. But I've been a lot better recently in saying that I'm just shooting for eighties on everything. And I'm not
Okay.
necessarily because, I feel like an 85 is super realistic for me. Like,
Yeah.
I
But
feel like
you
that,
just, I, I don't know that I agree with you.
oh dear, I'm a
That
C student. I knew it.
I think that you are, I think that that might not be true. And maybe you're just saying that because we had a conversation the other day and you said to me, there goes my A.
Yes, bro. I'm so upset about that.
Right. So you're saying an 85 is good. Hold on. You're saying an 85 is good, but then getting upset that your A is gone. So if you're upset about your A being gone, but you were okay with an 85, that would mean you would be okay with a B plus.
Let me rephrase myself.
Okay.
A overall, 85 on an exam.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's my like,
Okay.
if I have an exam coming up, I shoot for an 85.
Okay.
But then I get A's on everything else in the class.
I
And it
see.
and it's enough to keep the A in the class.
I see.
You
Okay.
see?
Yeah. So okay. So what about in
Because go ahead.
no, you go if you have something to say.
The number one problem that I deal with is that I can do well on my practicals. I can do well on my individual practicals. I can do well on my exam or on my like assignments and whatnot. And
And
my
stuff.
papers, it could go all A's. But as soon as I get to the written exam, I typically
Yes.
don't do as well. So
That's
that's
right.
what bumps me down.
Yeah. You have test anxiety, which obviously goes along with your anxiety and stuff.
That was actually diagnosed too.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you or do you balance in your head that perfectionism versus just doing well? No, it's not.
I feel like if I don't know, I don't know if balance is necessarily the word I'm going to use here.
Okay.
I think that if I do something and I feel good about it and then I get a grade back that reflects that, I'm chill. Even if it's like, maybe it is like an 82. Maybe it's not that 100 I was hoping for, but like, I was like, that is, I vibe with that.
Yeah.
But if it's something where I'm like, I felt good about that and I don't get what I thought I got, that's
Yeah.
where we start to spiral. And then
Okay.
that's when those thoughts creep in of I'm really not good enough.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about those because they're important.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about what happened when you took those tests this week. Was it this week or last week? It was last week.
I had one last week and two this week.
There was one last week. Which one was the major one last week? Yes.
Well, yeah, Thursday and Monday.
So Thursday was the major one.
Yeah, Thursday was the one that sent me into a spiral.
Yep. So let's talk about that one.
With all these tests being pushed together as much as they were, I
Yeah.
definitely didn't study the way that I wanted to, and I didn't kind of prepare as well as I thought I could have. And that's on me. That's just time management. That's on me, and I accepted that.
Yeah.
However, I took this exam and I felt pretty dang good about it. And I felt good about it in the fact that I knew it wasn't 100% because that's unrealistic and I've never done that.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's an 80. I was like, that's good. That's going to do it. That'll be chill.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got that score back because it was just it was a multi-select. And so it was just like, oh, select all and apply kind of an exams. And there's no written. So you got your grade back right afterwards. Anyways, I hit submit or I went through it. And one of the things I've been working on is just going with my gut and not changing answers. So I was like, okay, like I chose my answers. It's all done. Like I've sat here and reviewed it twice. Like there's no point in just looking at this for another 15 minutes.
Right.
So click submit and just sunk in my chair. I was like, Closed my computer, walked out of class, and then two of my friends were sitting there like, oh, how'd it go? And I was like, for feeling really good about that, not good. And they're like, I'm sure it wasn't bad. I'm like, nope, it wasn't good. I was like, that was not good. And anyway, so I just sat there and we were kind of talking about some of the questions that we were confused on. And everybody starts coming out of the room and everybody just starts telling me what they got. And I'm like just felt so terribly about myself.
Which later on, come to find out, I did not know this in the moment. They didn't do much better than you did.
They didn't do much better, but they did do better.
Right. But they did not do much better than you did.
Right.
Which is what you made it out to sound like. So go ahead.
Yes, because this is how my brain works.
Yes. So I don't know any of these. Like I know nothing. And go ahead.
So I then I started to have an anxiety attack in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
And I'm not a crier. Like I don't cry. But for some reason I was so frustrated and so upset that I like had to leave because I started to feel myself that I was to start crying in front of all these people.
Yes.
Which is just abnormal. And so
Yeah.
when my buddy looks at me, he goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm just gonna go home." Like before I
Yeah.
just broke into, I'm like, "I'm going home." He's like,
Yeah.
"Okay," and then he's like, "Well, I'll see you later." And then he chases after me and gives me a hug because he can tell that I'm not doing well.
Yeah.
And so I go home.
No.
Yes,
You got home? before you
Yes.
texted me?
Yeah, well, no, I texted you.
Okay. So
I texted you.
yes.
Well, I'm just okay. I texted you and I was like, "Yep, just failed that exam." I was like, "Yep," and then I was like, "Hmm." I'd say in the middle of an anxiety attack, just failed this exam. Gotta figure out how to not like get stuck in my head right now because I knew
Yeah.
I was able to recognize it. I was like, I gotta figure this out, and so I'm like, I'm just gonna go for a walk. It's like that's good. I'm like that's good for me. One of the things that we talked about is just getting out of the space that makes you feel
So the reason why we're talking about this is to also talk about your coping
right
mechanisms. And
and
so I
the
don't
things that
want
I'm
you to
working
rush
on.
past. Yeah. I don't want you to rush past this part
No,
because
I'm
this
not going to.
was okay.
Yeah. So figure out that I need to get out of my head, right? I'm like, I need to do something. One of the things that
Are
we
you
talked
text
about,
is this were you texting me while this was going on, or did you do like
I
kind of
put
walk me through?
my phone down and then was like, I got to my, well, I was texting you my entire way back to my apartment still for like 7 minutes. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, like, how can I help? I'm like, you can't. Like, just stop bothering me.
Yeah.
I was like, please just stop bothering me.
You didn't say it like that, but yes.
No, but internally, I was like, I'm fine. Stop.
Right. But so you that's in like yes, like I know that, but you also in that moment don't
Kept
recognize
texting.
what?
But I kept texting you.
You did. Exactly. And I appreciate that. And because you don't like it, it's important to recognize as the mother of someone who suffers from mental health issues that it's just as hard for me on your end as it is on mine.
Right.
Like it affects both of us.
Yes.
And so when you tell me I almost cried, like I know how severe that is
Because I don't do that.
because you don't do that. So not only is your mind spiraling, but mine is as well.
Right.
Right. So you're on the other end going, stop bothering me, which I know, like absolutely know. But on my end, I'm going, I can't stop bothering him because what if he needs like something and he's not telling me?
Right.
Right.
Which is totally fair. But internally, I'm
Exactly.
like, this is just not what I need.
Yes. So go ahead. Talk about it and I'll interject and stuff like that.
So I got home.
No,
Because yes, I got home.
you told me no, that's not what happened.
I was here. How do you know what happened?
Because your girlfriend texted me.
You are jumping a story right now.
Okay.
Can you just let me tell the story?
Okay.
So I get home, I put my backpack down, grab my AirPods, and go for my walk.
Okay.
You know, just let me
Okay.
finish.
Okay. Gotcha.
Then I go on my walk and I get excited that it's gonna start storming because I was hoping that I was gonna get rained on.
Right.
And
Okay.
then I,
Okay.
and then I got
Sorry.
excited, and then I got excited thinking I was gonna get struck by lightning. Okay?
Okay.
So that was where we were at mentally. So I put my AirPods in and I'm texting you, I'm going for a walk. And then I said, it's about a storm. And you're like, don't get sick. I was like, I hope I get sick.
Right. That's
Anyways,
right.
I'm just spiraling here, right? And I'm just aggressively texting you back. Anytime you
Yes.
offer a suggestion, I was just like, no.
Right. And your coping mechanism was going for a walk. My coping mechanism is to offer advice.
Right,
And I am very respectful of how you're feeling. And if you tell me not to give you any advice, my other alternative is to talk about it in a different way.
right.
Right?
Which again, why I was like, stop bothering me.
Right.
I've picked up on these cues.
I know that. We know each other very well because we do this so often. And I wouldn't say that's true. I wouldn't say it's often, but it happens that we are very good about knowing where each other's at. Right. And so for me, as you're texting me, it is about how can I de escalate this situation? Because I know that it's escalated and I know how high it is. And for everything that we've dealt with, my brain goes to what if he can't come out of this? Right.
Right,
And so if nothing else and I have shitty answers, I'm still talking to you to make sure you're talking to me.
right,
Right? Even
right.
if what I'm giving you is complete shit. It's
Until you,
still what?
until I got to the point where you were talking to me and I didn't want to talk to you, so I just put my phone in my pocket and went for my walk.
Right. And then I'm still texting you and you're pretty good at not you're pretty good at not ignoring me because
I
I
give it
think
a few minutes and then I'm like, I
Yeah.
respond with one word answer. That my
I think you recognize in the back of your head that it is stressful for me too.
yeah, yes.
And so finally, all of the things that like I'm trying to say to you, I'm like, where are your coping mechanisms? What are you doing? And you're like, no, like, fuck it. I don't even want to do this anymore. And like, those are the things that I have a hard time hearing.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like, how can we like, and then I think we got into the, how did everybody else do? And you were like, well, and I was like, wait, what? Like, I said, how did your girlfriend do? And she only got 2 points higher than you. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, no.
Oh, it was 3 points.
Okay, 3 points. Sorry. So she got 3 points higher than you. Everybody else only got 5, maybe 4. It was sporadic here and there, points higher than you. And I was like, okay. So it's not like they did way better, but that doesn't register in his head, was where I was going. And so I was like, it doesn't matter that everybody else was on the same page as him. It just matters that he did as badly as he did do. Noah did as badly as he did, or thought it was the end of the world. So my response to that was, okay, how can I make him realize that it's not the end of the world? There is something that can be learned from this. And so I think that I said to you, where's your girlfriend? And I
Oh
said,
yeah,
have you texted?
I definitely lied in this moment to you
Okay.
because I was
I
talking to
said,
her the whole time, but I just told you no
why?
because didn't want to respond the whole big paragraph.
Well, if you had told me that you were that you were talking to Riley, then I wouldn't have probably worried as much.
Well, I just thought you were gonna be all, you need to have a conversation with her. You need to do blah blah blah. And I was like, okay,
Well, if you had told me that you were talking to Riley, I would have been like, oh, good. Because
yeah,
I
wasn't
texted her
yeah.
as
She
soon
told
as,
me that. Yeah.
okay. Because I texted her and I was like, hey, he's not doing well. I think you need to go figure out what he's doing. And so she was like, and so she texted me. I think that this is actually really good because I think recognizing that both Riley and I, have that absolute love for you, that we want to make sure that you're okay and that we do work together to help you through those moments. Like, and that's really important because I don't think that's ever going to change. And so, you don't have to let me know that that's going to make me happy to know that she's there with you.
Well, yeah, no, I know. I just didn't want to have to send you a whole big paragraph.
Well, you wouldn't
So
have
I
had
said,
to.
I was like, no, okay, yes,
Yeah, you did. You gave me the one word.
I did.
It's okay. Either way, so Riley took you home. What happened?
We have a giant beanbag. Walked through the well, I had to pee. That's the whole reason I should have come pick me up.
Yeah.
Like I kind of forgot that I had to go to the bathroom before I went on my walk.
Yeah.
I was trying to walk to China.
Yeah.
Ended up only getting about 20 minutes out.
Yeah. So she picked you up.
Picked me up,
You
which was
got home, peed.
really, her drive compared to my walk. Her drive was about 2 minutes, and my walk was about 25. So it was like
Right.
I
Yeah.
walked real far. But like,
Yeah.
I went to the bathroom, and then I with a giant beanbag, and I ran and just face planted into the beanbag, and then I started
Okay.
crying.
Okay. So let's talk about how you de-escalated yourself.
I was very mean to myself for a solid like 15 minutes, which she yelled at me about.
Okay.
I had to go through the grieving stages, obviously.
Okay.
I was very mean to myself, and then I was very semi-understanding, and then I was very frustrated, and then I was very mean to myself again, and then I kind of hit the F it, we ball. I don't care anymore. Nah, it's fine. Okay, we're good.
Is that how it typically goes? Okay. Is there like variation in that?
Not typically. It's very, very similar. It's very much me just dogging on myself until I think it's funny, and she does not. I'm sitting there laughing. I'm sitting there laughing about how much I'm like dogging on myself, and she's like,
Yeah.
"You gotta learn to be nicer to yourself." And I was like,
I agree with Riley.
"Oh, I know." She's like, "I'm gonna text your mother and tell her what you're saying right now." And I was like, "Well, that's not funny." She's like, "And I thought it was."
See? There's a difference between what we think is funny and what we don't fucking think is funny.
Dang, I thought it was
I am eternally grateful for Riley.
she chill. She chill.
Yeah. Having somebody there with you that is so willing to love you just the way that you are
Surprising.
is so comforting to me because it is the one thing, obviously, that not the one thing, but one of the things that I've most worried about you being away from home, obviously, is dealing with your depression and anxiety and mental health issues and not having someone there that can, you know, not take the place of me because like that's not what we're talking about, but like that can guide you and help you and be there for you as much as I would be. And Riley is so that. She is so good. And you and I think have talked about a little bit about it. I don't know if we talked about it on here, but that girl is so good at emotion. She's so good at talking about things. She's so level headed. She's just perfect for you. And I am so eternally grateful for her. And she knows this. This is not new news to her. I tell her it all the time. I even did in that day when she told me she picked you up and I said, "How's he doing?" And she was like, "He's just being harder on himself than he usually, than he needs to be and stuff." And so she kind of kept in contact with me the rest of the day when you didn't.
For real?
Well, I mean, she just, will let me know how you were doing, yeah. And so, she knows she knows how much I worry,
Yeah.
And so for her, it was like and for her it is like I know that your mom isn't here and I can do the best that I can for her, and that is kind of keeping her in this loop, and she does that amazingly. Amazingly. Love her. Yeah. So I think that I when you go into your spiral moments and you are hard to get out of them, and then like the whole, especially these 2 weeks, like I think that I tend to think the worst sometimes. And I think that like I was trying to set up for this, like I was trying to figure out how we were going to run this episode. And one of the things that I thought about is there's nothing in this world that gives me more like greater joy than being your and Tabby's mom, right? But sometimes it's hard to be your mom.
Damn.
And that's I'm not saying that's not true for every mom as every kid's, mom or whatever. But sometimes it's hard to be your mom. And like the two like it's difficult because I worry about like ever since we've been dealing with mental health issues, I worry about the what if. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you this so that you don't tell me things anymore. Like
Right.
that wouldn't be our relationship. That's not what, and this isn't new news to you.
No.
This is stuff that that I deal with on my ass end of it. But that's why there's always that, what are you doing? Like, give me an answer. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the text, because my mind does go there. Like it does just naturally go to the what if? Like, what if this is the time when he's not going to handle it anymore?
Right.
What if this is the rock bottom? Right. And so I think that the best thing that helps with that is your willingness to communicate with me in every situation.
Right.
And I am so grateful for you for that and the relationship that we have built for your willingness to do that and ease at which you do that with.
Yeah.
So I always appreciate you, even in the times when I want to beat your little butt.
Well,
But I'm always grateful for the relationship that we have because we're able to have these conversations and we're able to work through them. Yeah. So anyway, do you have anything to add on that? No.
no.
Do you feel like so that was the worst of it. So that was that Thursday. Do you feel like Monday and Tuesday of this week were better after those exams? Or did you, like, obviously you were able to fix yourself. You were able to,
Technically, yeah.
not so sure I would say.
You're a problem. You're a real problem.
Ooh,
I'll leave that funny.
I think it's funny. But anyway, like you were able to calm yourself and recognize that it wasn't the end of the world. And you did all the things. And like you said, you worked through it the way that you worked through it. And I'm not about to tell you how to work through those things as long as you work through them and get to the point where you know that you're better than you think you are. But having had that breakdown, how did that affect the rest of the things that you had to finish for the semester?
Kind of forced me to friggin' lock in.
Did it?
Kind of did. Kind
That's
of
awesome.
so. I was kind of so upset with that score that I was like, "Oh, I have to do better." That I just started studying harder.
Yeah.
And then I just realistically didn't do that well in any of the other two either. So I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh." was like,
I don't think you did poorly. I think it just wasn't your expectation of perfection that you didn't hit,
well, no, I studied for like 20 hours for one of them just to get a 75.
which
And then,
ended up
look,
being an 80.
I argued those questions, let me tell you. Like, this is
Yes.
wrong.
Yes.
So, yeah, I got everybody a 5% increase in their exams.
Nice.
And then the other exam, I was so worried about studying for the other one that I only spent about 2 hours studying for that one. And I think if I do the math correctly, I'll get like an 84.
Nice.
I think I missed 8 multiple choice questions, and then the rest were um, written, which I felt like pretty good about the written, honestly. So I feel like I'll get full points, if not a majority of the points that I get close to an 80. So I wasn't too mad about that one because I only studied for 2 hours for that one.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
then it
I
brought me to my next question.
which
Am
is
I better at just walking in there not having studied
right.
than than doing this whole, actually spending time to learn the things?
And I think that brings up a good point of we were actually talking about study methods,
Yeah.
which there's so many different study methods you can use and stuff. And I think that it's just a matter of figuring out what works for you and being effective. But that's a whole nother story. So who knows? I don't know. It might be because you have such test anxiety that maybe going into a test with, different preparation techniques might be better for you. So I don't really know.
Just got me super nervous for my BOC in less than a year.
That's how I feel with my, yeah. It was, yeah.
It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. Oh, do you feel like this time was one of the worst times that you've had?
Recently,
Yeah. Do you feel like you moved through it well, or do you feel like there's things that you could have done better? How did your coping mechanisms work for you during this?
walking was not the move.
Okay.
However, it was better than just sitting in my apartment alone. So I was like,
Okay. What do you think you could have done in place of walking?
I should have went to the baseball fields.
Right. So we use recently some of your let's just talk quickly about some of your coping mechanisms because they change constantly. Recently we talked about one of your coping mechanisms being
That
throwing a baseball.
always
Whether
works.
it's whether it's throwing it in the air, thinking about baseball, but like or even putting you in that mode of thinking about baseball because baseball is such a relaxing thing for you where your brain
Yeah.
doesn't even have to it's so natural for you that your brain
I don't
doesn't
know
even
how it
have
is.
to work. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that it doesn't your brain doesn't have to work hard to do it. Like to
No,
think about the mechanics, to think about the mechanisms, to think about all those things. It's actually very therapeutic.
no.
The other thing that we talked about was rating your stress. We talked about a scale for your stress, and all the things that are going on. Which in this case this happened was a full blown anxiety attack. But what we're talking about for rating your stressors, we should say, so that they don't become a full blown anxiety attack. How is that working for you? Do you like that? I'm just asking, like,
I
do you
haven't
like
done
that
that in
mechanism?
weeks.
Okay. Was it working?
Oh, the one or two times I did it, yeah. I started knitting.
Okay. There's another one. Good. I saw your hot mess of a knit.
Okay, listen, it doesn't look very good, but I'm gonna go to the store and I'm gonna get different materials, okay?
Yeah. But why
I'm gonna
is
get some
knitting
thicker
good?
I'm gonna get some thicker yarn.
That's a good idea. Why is knitting good?
It's because I'm a creative mind, so it's just using my hands without thinking about the other things going on.
Exactly. So some
And
really good
drawing is just too
mechanisms.
hard these days.
Yeah. So just some new mechanisms that I appreciate that you're trying. So that's good. Like I'm really glad for that. So
I'm just stretching.
okay. And so we're going to wrap this up with how you're feeling now and going into the wonderful things that you're going into. We didn't do what's your take because we just didn't have time for that. But how are you feeling about what you're going to be doing now? Your new internships.
Spooky, spooky, scary skeleton.
The one is for what, 6 weeks. This one for
Yeah.
the summer is for 6 weeks. And then your next one is your entire next semester. So there's a possibility we'll be talking about that at least next semester. But this one that you're going into is something you're keeping to yourself. And that's totally great. I love that. But it's really awesome. And as your mom you know this. I'm super proud of you for this opportunity that you're getting. So, how are you feeling about it? What do you feel like? How do you feel like you can preempt yourself for any of the stress that's going to come?
Honestly, right now I'm feeling pretty good.
Good. Having that confidence, going in there with confidence is going to be the biggest thing for you.
Yeah, it is. I think this is just something I've been working for the last 6 years. This opportunity, um, that I'm just kind of ready to go. You know, I'm ready to like take it for what it is and just like just get in there and learn. And I'm excited. You know, obviously there's a little bit of nervousness, a little bit just like kind of how am I going to be useful? How am I going to be? What role am I going to play? And there's the key to where I'm going, stuff like that, and the success of the team and stuff like that. But no, I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to gain more knowledge and just kind of utilize this as a preparation for my next opportunity.
Yeah.
Just kind of mentally prepare a little bit better there. So I'm not as nervous for this one. I'm more so just ready to get started and kind of take it for like day by day and just learn all I can and just be a sponge and soak it all in. So
And I think that there's a difference between going into an exam and not having the confidence versus going into this situation and having confidence, which I see that with you a lot. Like, academically, definitely
my
don't.
confidence wavers.
Yeah, your confidence wavers for sure. But in the social situations is totally where you thrive.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that, you and I, so many times. I just
Also, just like coming off of my last clinical and like my at an exit interview, it's just kind of like how that went. Just kind of
so
like
good.
yeah, it brought my confidence up a little bit more again. Just kind of like reminded me that like I am doing things well and I'm doing it right and stuff like that. Just because
And as
I kind of
you're God.
with my clinicals, I kind of was here and then it kind of just was here. And then I was riding that high and then I kind of just, it was kind of riding this low again and then kind of, yeah, back
Yeah.
up. So I'm feeling pretty good about my clinical stuff. So
Yes.
yeah,
I keep telling you that's where you thrive. And sometimes you come back at me with, I'm not so sure about that.
I'm not so sure about it.
I know. But I will say it till the very, very end. And when you're actually an athletic trainer and, all of this is behind you, I'm going to be like, I told you that you were going to thrive here.
Let me get through another year of school and pass my BOC and then we'll talk.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
Gotta start putting, gotta start putting that one out in the universe now that I'm going to be a second year again. Pass the
Yep.
BOC, passing the
Yep.
BOC. We are going to pass.
Exactly. Exactly. So anyway, I just thought it was really important that we talk about the fact that anxiety is always with you. It's something that sometimes may creep up and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, it's just always there and sometimes it just comes and you don't expect it to come and, it's a matter of dealing with it in that moment. Is there anything else that you would like to say about any of what we've talked about? We probably should say that if you are feeling like if any of you out there are having any issues with, any mental health issues or anything going on, like we would, really encourage you to talk to somebody, whether it be a friend, a parent, a mentor, a teacher, whatever. And you can always call 988, which is a crisis line. They're always there to talk to you about anything. So probably a good idea to mention those things. So yeah, roll maps. I got it right. I'm learning. But anyway, so I'm really grateful that Noah and I had this opportunity to record this episode. I'm grateful for you, Bud, for making the time to sit down with your mama and have these conversations and let our listeners experience, some of the things that we go through on a daily basis. And I'm grateful for you. I just love you so much.
I'm sorry, I'm just yawning.
Dude. Facts. Anyway, so that's about it. We're going to wrap this up. And yeah, so thank you, Drift Mates, for listening. And we appreciate you. And just know that every voice needs a safe harbor. Until next time, stay anchored in connection. Thank you.